Order. Order.
Mr. Speaker.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
For a time during that speech, I thought his underpants were on too tight. Mr. Speaker, New Zealand First wishes to raise an important matter going directly to competent and accountable government. We're aware of serious complaints against Mr. Brian Stables and his companies operating in Christchurch on a range of matters. Reliable information has come to us of a long list of fraudulent practices carried out by Brian Stables and his various companies. Mr. Brian Stables has used his companies to defraud, mislead and cheat people, and it's not a laughing matter for Jamie Lee White's benefit. We want to set out the nature of the serious concerns that we're raising today and have been raised with authorities who clearly have failed to act to apprehend and stop this man's so-called business activities. The main activity of complaint was his companies purporting to carry out technical inspections of properties for earthquake compensation purposes, which neither he nor his companies and the people they employed were qualified to do. It's not a laughing matter, Mr. Brownlee. They were paid but did not actually provide genuine technical reports. Those reports supplied were useless. And his companies and Mr. Staples also employed a number of subcontractors who carried out work on damaged properties. Mr. Staples and his companies got paid, but the subcontractors did not, Mr. Jamie Lee White. And we understand that he and his companies had no intention of paying numerous subcontractors. Mr. Staples carried out work and he registered for GST as a business, accepted payment for work, which he issued GST invoices for, but did not file returns nor paid the GST. It would also appear that Mr. Staples directly instructed his company and his employers not to pay GST. It appears he employed the old tactic. Whenever people demanded payment or he began to pretend that there was a dispute, and then Mr. Staples would use every delaying tactic possible, never intending to actually defend any claim nor any part or pay any part of it. He also brought in Filipino workers on a contract. Two issues. How did he get these people via immigration and MB? And how did he influence those two departments to allow these people in? It's clear from the evidence that he had no intention to treat these immigrant workers lawfully, which raised the issue of why, before they obtained status, these two departments do due diligence to avoid such breaches of our employment law. Second issue, he simply did not pay these Filipino workers. He left them in dire straits. He and his companies failed to pay IRD returns or make payments of PAYE tax for Filipino workers. He instructed his company employees not to file PA returns and not to pay PAYE taxes. The list goes on, but those are the main matters in the time available we've got to say today. But my concern is, if New Zealand First is aware of them, what on earth is going on with the Minister and the relevant government departments? IRD, MB, the SAFO, what have they been doing? No firm action from these agencies. And I want to ask Mr. Brownlee, stop bleating and explaining what you haven't done. Why don't you get off your broad half-ache and do something for these people down there? Not being paid, robbed blind as immigrants, the so-called pro-immigrant party. Couldn't give a tinker's damn about them. Now, Mr. Staples is the man, of course, who's been painting himself on TV as the modern Robin Hood. Well, he's halfway there. He's taking from ordinary people, but he's not giving it to the poor. He's Robin Hood in reverse. Mr. Brownlee, Mr. Dunn and Mr. Joyce, what have you not done and why haven't you not done it? And I want to close with this statement about an MP who is now escaping scrutiny by Parliament and by the media because she's gone aground. You see, she misused her credit card. Seriously wrong. No. Mr. Key made the call on Sunday night because there were blatant financial irregularities that neither she nor the National Party could reconcile. That's a fact. The second thing is Mr. Key said this, that her breaches were unintentional and that he was, quote, not aware of further misspending. Then he claimed that I don't have any advice on that. That is false. He does. And I want to know why someone just says, I'm not standing at the next election. No punishment. No chastisement. Just says, I'm not going to stand. Goes to September being paid full pay as an MP. And then for 3 months after that, for 5 more months. Someone who's breached the parliamentary rules badly, far beyond $200, the lousy amount that those ministers over there are shouting. And you've got ministers of police and all sorts of ministers, all the way to the Prime Minister, giving assurances. And let me tell you about Mr. Key's statement. Mr. Key's statement, he said, I pledge greater transparency on MPs' expenses. His statement wasn't worth the air passes on.
Has expired.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, speaking of individuals, not that I do want to, Colin Craig, sir.